are back here with the Excursion, and it is finally all one color. We're gonna do a quick rundown on some of the specs that are on the truck. So it has 05 to 07 radius arm axles, 410 gears front and back. I got the matching front and rear differential from the same truck. Re-geared it already, picking the correct axle, knowing that I was gonna do 37s with the 5R110 transmission that's in this truck. Complete PMF long arm 4-link, PMF radius arm brackets. They're PMF King coilover with iBox springs. It's all spec'd and rated for this front end of the truck. It has King dual steering stabilizers. The wheels and tires are Method 17 by 8.5, 0 offset, or 4.5 inch back spacing, whatever you prefer, how you figure out your offset. 37 by 12.5, 17 inch tires. It has the Carly complete rear suspension package with the airbag bucket option. I don't have the airbags installed yet. That's something to add later. If I decide that I am actually towing a lot more than anticipated, I will go ahead and add the airbags. It is going to have an ARB front air locker along with the ARB dual air compressor, along with a secondary fitting to be able to fill up all the tires from the outside, and it'll also help fill up those rear airbags when I decide to add those. The whole front end is PMF, like the whole suspension components from the front conversion is all PMF suspension, which we are now a distributor for. So if you need anything from PMF, let us know. We'll build you a quote and get you sorted. I came to the decision that I'm going to keep the 05 front end. So that came with some choices. Either paint the hood that was on it, which was completely stock factory 05 hood, but I decided that I wanted some ventilation out of that engine bay. There is so much heat in there. It has nowhere to go except for to cook all the wiring and everything that is in the engine compartment. So the obvious choice was to get a vented hood. Huge thank you to AmeriHood. We are now a distributor for their hoods, and this is their Shelby GT500 style hood for the Ford Excursion, Super Duty, F250, 350. It fits all the front ends on the same truck because virtually this is a Super Duty chassis. The hood and the roof are finally now color matched. You can't tell here because the truck is super dirty, but everything is finally one color. We got the flares touched up, the rear tailgate handle touched up, the roof was fully resprayed, and with the new hood, because it was originally a gel-coated white hood, that has now been color matched. I replaced the windshield wiper cowl that actually cracked on me when I was washing the truck one day, and the pieces just flew off when I started driving. So replaced the windshield cowl at the same time that we were doing the hood stuff, and it looks absolutely amazing. This is the first time I actually take the truck anywhere that has kind of a ridge that I could climb up on top of. And we already found a limiting factor of the front end. On the PMF suspension in the front, we did order everything to accommodate for the lift, but right now I can't tell if on the right side I'm at full bump, but the left side, the brake line is fully extended. It's actually kind of tight. We haven't made it up this hill. We're probably not going to because I'm kind of scared to rip that brake line out of its socket. So that's something we're gonna have to go back to, relocate the brake line, actually make it more convenient to access. Right now, it is currently behind the spring bucket, so it's kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. Next thing we're gonna do is I do need to install that ARB air locker along with the ARB dual air compressor, where I'm gonna have a fitting also so that way I can fill up all 4 tires evenly for the moments that I have to air down. One of those moments is actually today, because we noticed that getting up onto this ridge, that right rear, once it started to lose some traction, it just started to spin. The rear end does have a limited slip differential, but with the lack of traction and the amount of air pressure that's in these tires right now, we're sitting at about 40 PSI. It's just too much. I need to air down to be able to do stuff like this. Possibly lock the front hub so the front starts hooking a little bit better. But that front air locker would really pull me over this crest and possibly high center the truck. But that's another thing we're gonna handle. The factory side step is gonna be removed. I have an Amp Research Power Step XL that has a built-in rock rail, and then it actually drops the step an additional 3 inches. When the step is up, you see a nice, clean, black textured rock rail that is protecting the pinch welds on the truck, and actually looks a hell of a lot better than the side step that's on there because it makes it look more rugged. It actually makes the truck look a little bit higher when the step is closed. You won't have a step fully static sticking out all the time unless the door is cracked open. Then it'll stay open. One of the things a couple of people mentioned about the truck was it originally had basically expedition mirrors. I don't know why, because this does have the factory tow package. It'll pull 10,000 pounds, a big trailer, whatever you need it to do. And it had little baby mirrors.
Baby back, baby back, baby.
Those little baby mirrors got tossed away. And I have new towing mirrors. We actually acquired these based on some recommendations from my first FX, who now sold his truck. This truck was essentially modeled after what he went through to put 37s and then 40s and then go back to 37s. And some of the things that he did with his truck is really what I inspired to do with mine. One of those other options was being those mirrors. This mirror is collapsible, it's extendable, it's a full towing mirror, still has the turn signal in the mirrors, and still has the heated mirror option that this truck already came with. This was a complete plug and play mirror. There's a little bit of discrepancies with the gap on the right side door. It's not 100% perfect, but again, these are either made in Taiwan or made in China, and it's essentially fitting so many chassis that whichever one they took the original mold off of, you could actually loosen it and like kind of wiggle it around to get it to set into place to match your door frame a lot better. I was able to do that. But in doing that, I had to remove the inner plastic mirror cover and one of my clips broke. So now I had to find one of those only because of adjusting the gaps. But not a big deal. These mirrors are a hell of a lot better. It actually has a lower blind spot mirror included as well. So it's not just one frame of glass. It has that blind spot mirror that really helps. With the truck being lifted, now driving on the highway, I can just look at that mirror and see if anyone's in my blind spot in that lower corner. So it really helps a lot in guiding through traffic. One of the other things I have to tackle with the front suspension is actually applying a sway bar that I would like and work with my package. Package. Fucking funny, dude. One of the other things I need to acquire for the front suspension of the truck is a front sway bar. Carly makes a setup that is for the 05 to 07 axle update on the Excursions. They make the drop mounts, they make the end links. And one of the options that I do want to add is a quick release end link. So that way, if I want to do something like this, the sway bar would be the main limiting factor to get it to articulate as much as it needs to. So what you do is you pull one of the end links, lift that end link up, and reattach that end link to the sway bar itself. So that way, it's only attached on one end. There's no limiting factor when it's not connected to the other side. So it's not having any sway control. On the highway, when you're going 65, 70 miles an hour, you're not allowed to do any quick maneuvers anymore. The front moves so much and it's so floaty, it's not safe to do that. So the best thing is to add a front sway bar, so that way for everyday use, the truck's 100% stable, it's good. I don't really have to think as much as to where I want to go and make my moves planned out 10, 15 seconds in advance. That front sway bar would really help that. On the back of the truck, it has the complete Carly suspension setup. Right now, it's missing the King shocks that are valved and tuned by Carly for their rear leaf pack. But from what I can tell right now, I have the Bilstein extended lift rear shocks, and it drives... Oh my god! That's funny.
FedEx is ripping.
On the back of the truck, I have the whole Carly suspension, but I am missing the King shocks that are not currently installed. They finally came in stock, but that requires welding in the upper shock mounts, and we're going to have to be really careful because on the back of the Excursion, that is where the fuel tank lies. Maybe remove some of the items to be able to weld in those shock mounts, and then the rear will be completely finished once and for all, along with adding that Amp Research rock rail and power step. Those are the two items that I was really waiting on, so that way I can take the truck to the next level and really finish the drivetrain suspension side of things. I have noticed though that everybody mentioned you have to do the 05 and up steering box upgrade. I never really understood why until I started driving the truck around with the 37s. In 1 week, I had no steering leaks, right? Previously, I had a 33-inch tire with a mild level B code front spring. No issues driving around, no power steering leaks, no nothing. 1 week with the lift, the 37s re-geared and everything, and turning this thing everywhere with the dual steering stabilizers and everything, it created so much pressure and resistance in the steering system that my power steering pump is leaking, my power steering box is leaking. So I now have to look into a Lee power steering system and upgrade the steering box and upgrade the power steering pump for increased pressure. That also gives me the option to do a ram assist setup. I don't particularly think I'm going to do the ram assist because, again, this isn't going to be mainly a crawling vehicle, so I don't need it to turn like via a pinky. So I'm going to do the upgraded steering box, upgraded steering pump, leave the option for ram assist if I feel the need to do it, but I think this dual steering stabilizer right now is enough. That might be a limiting factor in terms of turning into tight areas if I get stuck in like a ravine or whatever. I'm likely not to put myself in that type of situation ever. This truck's so damn big and crawling scares the shit out of me, but it's really fun at the same time. It's the slowest thing that I've ever done that makes me sweat more than going drifting. I don't want to put myself in too hairy of a situation with this big ass truck. I really want to be able to get myself out. All right, thank you guys for checking out this episode on the Excursion. There's still some more details that need to be handled, but I wanted to get you guys up to speed on where it's at, where it's been, and it finally looking great, all one color. No more mismatched panels, and I can finally put it to use, but not without a couple more updates. So keep an eye out for those in the future. Again, thank you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.